All right, Florida. We're going to get started in just a second. I just want to give people opportunity to get in and get settled. So, welcome to today's CLE. It's Microsoft Outlook for Attorneys. One of those things that most of us use every day, but don't know much about and haven't delved into it. So, if you've been familiar with my Microsoft Word series, something similar to that. So, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to learn to learn the best ways to use Outlook specifically from a legal perspective, right? There are a lot of things that don't necessarily apply to us and a lot of things that we can tweak to make our lives easier. So just FYI, sit back, relax, and let's get into Outlook. The way that I would get the most out of this CLE is if you have Outlook already pulled up on your computer. So especially if you have two screens or something like that, that's going to be awesome. So just have your Outlook pulled up, and then as I'm going through and giving you these tips and tricks and things to look out for, you can be going at the same time and turning some things off and on that I will suggest in your own Outlook. So this isn't going to be a slide heavy session. I will have slides here for you just as reference. So if you have a question or if you missed something and you don't want to necessarily have to go back and watch it, everything that I reference here is also contained in the slides. So just make sure you have that as for reference. But for today's CLE purposes, I'm just going to have my own Outlook pulled up for you or pulled up for us. Look at us go. And I'm just going to be going through it in real time, kind of showing you what this looks like because sometimes slides can be boring. All right, so let's get into it. So, a little bit about me and what I do here. Hello, my name is Jordan Turk. I'm your captain for today's CLE. I am a practicing attorney down in Texas, so all the drama all the time. I do family law, especially right before the holidays. It's a really fun time to be in our field. But in addition to that, I'm also the director of education and attorney development at Smokeball. And if you're not familiar with Smokeball, with what we do, it completely changed my life. It's actually what brought me to Smokeball from my family law practice, but it's an all-in-one cloud-based practice management software. So if you're not familiar with what that is, because that sounded like a lot of words, practice management is essentially something where it handles everything that you need to run your firm from start to finish. And this includes your administrative tasks and then your actual case management tasks. So think things like intake, to document automation, to document storage, to communication with your client through a portal, all the way to billing and trust account reconciliation, things like that. Workflows, which will absolutely change your life if you ever have need of those, especially if you're trying to grow your firm and train paralegals at the same time. Workflows are going to become your best friend. But essentially, it's all there, it's all in one, it's all housed under one roof, and it's cloud-based, so you can practice from anywhere. So, especially Floridians, very similar to Texans, where we have to worry about hurricanes and things like that. Having this type of software completely saved our firm because our office got flooded out and we were not able to access the building for 2.5 weeks when Hurricane Harvey came through. But luckily, we had a cloud-based practice management software. So all of us, if we had the ability, if we were just kind of stuck at home and not really doing anything and we'd rather be billing, we're able to log on and still work on our cases and things like that. So especially if you're worried about that, you're worried about continuity and being able to work from anywhere, look into this. It absolutely changed the game for me. All of my old firm are now Smokeball users. Clearly, I am too. So it's been really, really cool to just see a bunch of people grow their firms and be successful, especially with this software. And if you have any questions about it, I'm going to launch a poll at the very end of today's CLE. You can request that I reach out to you with more information. But absolutely, if there's one gift that you're going to give yourself this holiday season, it should be practice management software, I'm telling you. And best of all, members of the Florida Bar get a 10% discount on this software. So if you want to learn more about it, we'll post a link into the chat, or you can scan this really fancy QR code, and that'll send you to the member benefit page, and it'll talk more in depth about that too. But really, really cool. This is a huge deal for y'all. Definitely look into it. All right, so before we get started today, if y'all could, I've already sent myself a bunch of test emails, but it's always more fun to hear from y'all. So if you're watching this, go ahead, send me an email, jordan.turk@smokeball.com. I particularly like pictures of pets, of kids, or recipes is always a very good one. I've learned a lot cooking-wise from giving these CLEs across the country, including if you're watching this on demand. Send me an email. I'm always curious to see what y'all are up to especially with pictures and especially with recipes and things like that. So go ahead, just send me a little email, ring a ding ding, and then we'll get started too. But you'll see as I'm going through my own Outlook, I've sent myself a bunch of test emails so that y'all don't have to see my regular emails. Not that they're that thrilling or anything like that, but hey. All right. So getting into just what we're going to discuss today about Outlook. We're going to get into overview and core functionality, get into the quick access toolbar, which is something that we use a lot but don't think about. There are certain ways that you can master that. We get into keyboard shortcuts that are going to be universal for most Microsoft services. So what I teach you today will be applicable in Word and also applicable in Excel, things like that. They all talk to each other as far as the keyboard shortcuts. And then we'll get into useful tips, integrations that you should look at, especially about Zoom and things like that. I'll go through those integrations and what those look like and what you should maybe consider adopting. And then at the very end, we'll get into Q&A. So if you have questions as we go through here, go ahead, pop them into the Q&A box or the chat. I'll check both, it's fine. But go ahead, just pop those in and I will answer those at the very end of today's session. So if you had a question about Outlook that I didn't cover, or you want me to go back and go through something else that you didn't, fully get down, go ahead and send that into the chat or Q&A. All right, so overview and core functionality. We're going to get out of here because I just want to launch into I just want to launch into the program, but I will say as far as ethical considerations are concerned, because it's not a lawyer party without ethics, but more than I think it's now 41 states, I believe, have adopted the duty of technology competence, Florida included, and it's where you have this duty to maintain the requisite knowledge and skill, including the benefits and risks associated with the technology that you use in your office, and you are required to engage in continuing study, which is why you are here, I imagine, when you're using this technology. So just FYI, by doing this and being here today, you are already fulfilling part of that requirement for your duty of technology competence. All right, I'm going to get out of here because we already know why attorneys should care about Outlook and especially things like Outlook and Excel and Word, and it's because we all use it every day. So I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to start sharing my screen. Let me get my video off here and then we'll start sharing our Outlook. So here we go. Da, 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 dum. I'm just gonna pull this up here. Hang on real quick as I get all this done. There are so many screens. All right, so then let's pull up Outlook here, and that's gonna be screen. Yes, I want it to be screen 2. All right, hopefully, fingers crossed, y'all can see this. Yes, okay, so now we're just in my Outlook program. And so, as you see, I have a bunch of tests. Thank you, Lynette, for sending me an email here too. Keep sending them. I love to receive y'all's emails and things like that from y'all. But so here's where we're going to start. First of all, getting into this, adding multiple email accounts is a game changer for me, especially when it comes to Outlook. So you can actually merge multiple email accounts into one Outlook platform. And that includes if it's a Gmail address, that includes if it's a Yahoo address, things like that. So sometimes you'll want to use applications and technology that say, oh, you have to have an Outlook account. And part of you says, oh, well, shucks, I don't have one. You can actually integrate it through Outlook. So your Gmail, your Yahoo, everything else, you can actually put that into Outlook itself and it'll pop up as just a different email address. So you see here, I have my email. It's just jordan.turk@smokeball.com. That's what this is. And once you add others, it will look like this. So we have a trade shows email, we have a media inquiries, because I'm so popular, email. And so these are all different email addresses that I've added here or email accounts that I've added into Outlook. Now, how you do it? Very simple. Just click on the file ribbon. So this whole thing up here in the upper left-hand corner is called your ribbon. That's universal across Microsoft products. But go ahead and click on the file ribbon. I know it sounds very fancy. And once you do that, you'll see where you can select add account right here up top. So you'll add that. And essentially what it'll do is you'll type in the account, whether it's, your Gmail or Yahoo or whatever, or maybe it's another Outlook account, you'll add it, or your law firm account, add it in here. It will then prompt you to log into that account into Outlook. So if I put in a Gmail address, it'll pop up with Gmail and it will have me log into that. And then it will add that email, it will integrate. You can add a metric ton of emails to this. I think the limit right now is 15, which would be maybe a little bit crazy, but you can add as many as you want, essentially, if it's up to 15. The thing that I would do and what I've seen law firms and attorneys mess up on over the years as I've kind of counseled them and especially for their billing and their trust accounting and things like that is have a separate email address for your billing for your law firm. The problem is, and we fall into this trap when we're solos, is a lot of stuff just comes straight from our email or solely from our paralegal's email, right? If we're just a solo or very small firm. And that is a problem because everything gets meshed together. It's hard to differentiate. So just go ahead and create a separate, completely separate email for your billing, right? Mine is just billing at jordanturklaw.com, right? One of those. And you'll just add that into Outlook. So that way it's not clogging up your main email inbox. And you would just go down here and it would say, down here it would say billing, and then you could open up that different email. So it just helps you as far as compartmentalizing and keeping your, preserving your sanity when it comes to that. So just FYI, that's exactly what I would do is make sure that you have separate emails for separate things. Just will make your life so much easier, believe me. Oh, look, I got a calendar hold. Look at me go. But so we're doing that. And then getting into customizing your favorites tab. So you see up here, none of us ever mess with this. I don't know why. But up here in Outlook is your favorites tab. So here you'll see I have inbox, sent items, feedback, deleted items. You can add anything you want to this favorites tab. So maybe I have a project that I'm working on for the family law section and there are a lot of moving parts. I'm getting a lot of emails, but I don't want them interacting with me on my workday because I'm already getting a million other emails from clients. Yay, family law. So what you can do is you can actually put that up into favorites, create a different do a different folder, put it up there. So maybe I want the follow-up folder actually that I have to be in favorites because I just need to be able to access it quicker. And here I go. I just move it up there. So it's just a simple drag and drop. So holding down your mouse and dragging it up there, always good. We'll talk about discovery in a minute, and I have certain rules for that when it's a discovery heavy month and the client can't figure out the portal because they're insane. And so they send me 300 pictures, each containing one photograph to send as discovery responses, and I want to pull my hair out. Well, what I can do instead, and I'll show you way more about rules later on today, but I can make a rule where it's all going into a folder, and I can put that folder up top to favorites so that I remember and that I address it before the end of the day, things like that. But there's a lot of stuff that you can do just with favorites here. Go ahead, play around with it, move up what you need to move up. Billing is usually in my favorites, so I'll put that up there too. It just makes it a lot easier for you. Again, a lot of this is just trying to streamline your mind because we're already having to worry about 5 million other things a day, and your email just needs to reflect that because otherwise it gets very chaotic. All right. Now going to the view, few people realize that actually the view of Outlook is completely customizable, similar to a lot of Microsoft products. And here's what I'll say about this. Hovering over things in Microsoft or right-clicking them is going to tell you a lot about what you can do. Same with emails. If you are right-clicking emails, that's going to give you pretty much everything under the sun that you could possibly want to do with this email. So Microsoft Word is similar, Excel is similar, right-clicking is absolutely going to be your favorite thing. So if I go over to the view, again, right clicking is going to tell you a lot, going to show you exactly what you can do, which is very nice. I'm actually going to, I want to always show ribbon. Here we go. That's what I want. So if you're not seeing that ribbon where, like for me, I'll just show you what that looked like. For instance, if I wanted to hide it, oop, now it's not doing it. Hello. There we go. Okay, so if I want to, if I want to show it, you'll just click, if you want it to be displayed the entire time, just click on Always Show Ribbon on this very small arrow button down here. All right, so, but we're on the View tab and we want to actually change the view and what we see in here because, for instance, the older I get and the tinier this font looks, my eyes hurt. And so actually you can, instead of having to go down here in the bottom right-hand corner and click Zoom, for everything to get it zoomed in. Instead, you can actually just change it yourself. So, oh, that's way too tiny. So we're going to zoom in there. But you can actually change also down here where, just your regular, where it's giving you the subject line and things like that. You can change the view here. So you can change a metric ton of stuff. And we'll just take a look at kind of what I would recommend. But so to do this, for instance, talking about font size and things like that, you'll go to the view ribbon. So you'll see that here, right? That's our ribbons up there. So you'll click on view And then you'll go to View Settings, which is over here on the left. And so it gives you a bunch of different things that you can do where it says columns, group by sort, filter, other settings, things like that, conditional formatting. That sounds fancy and not stuff that we need for today. So what you're going to do instead is click on Other Settings. And here's where you can get into the font and here's where you can get into the size. So you can really start playing around with it. So for instance, if I want this to be 16 instead, just to show y'all what this looks like, I'm going to say okay. We're going to say okay and then okay there. And you'll see that now goes to 16. So especially if this is just becoming way too small for you, play around with that. Again, it's under the View tab and View Settings. And then you'll go to Other Settings and then you can really play around with it. And so if I want to go back and maybe I want that to be more like, maybe 12, we'll do that. But you can change anything. If you do not like the font, that is there, you can completely change the font. So if you're just a Times New Roman person, like we all kind of have to be depending on which court, because all courts are special snowflakes and what they require, maybe you want to see Times New Roman, maybe you want to see Calibri, maybe you want it all in italics, so you can completely change and customize it to whatever you want. And you can do that for both the rows and columns, essentially anything that you would see on here, you can completely customize it. So it just makes it nice. And so that's how you do that as far as getting in and playing around, especially with the font. And you can also do that with the message preview lines, things like that. You can completely change that. So if that's an issue for you, where especially for me, where I can't read this, depending on what you're looking on it from, go ahead and increase that font. Play around with it. And then next, you can actually play around with the display on Outlook just right here. So for instance, if you wanted this section to be bigger or longer or to hold more information, you can just click that arrow and drag it. So we're just going to drag it. You can do whatever you want with it. And so that obviously will decrease the preview size of the email, but will increase the subject line. And also conversely, if you want to shorten that to have the email be bigger, you can certainly do that too. So that's completely customizable. And also it will remember your preference. So if I were to click out of here, out of Outlook and then reopen it, it's going to remember my preference as to where this was held. So go ahead, again, play around with it, and it's going to automatically remember what you do. And then there's some other cool stuff that you really don't think about when you're playing around with Excel. So for instance, let's say I'm going to reply to Austin and say, "Hi, Austin." Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And I'm just going to send that. Now, the cool thing is once I send it, you'll see up here, which we never pay attention to, it says I replied to this message on 11:20 at 11:17 a.m. Perfect. And what you can do then, remember, right click is your friend. If you right click on that, you can find all of the related messages to it. So it's going to find the email that I just sent to Austin. So especially if you are stuck in an email chain of death, where you're copied or CC'd, or there's just a metric ton of emails that are going to be in that string and you're trying to locate them on Outlook, because to me, the search function in Outlook kind of sucks. You search for one thing, 10 million other things pop up. They're not in order, the order that you want them to be. So instead, right click on that where it says you replied to this message and then just click on find related messages. And that way it's solely going to be related to this email string as opposed to everything else. It just makes a lot more sense to do it that way if you're searching for that specific string, because otherwise you just want to pull your hair out, which is very fun. All right, now getting into the calendar. So calendar features here, and again, remember, if you have questions, pop those into the chat, pop those into Q&A, and I'll get to them at the end. But calendar, this will be your best friend. Look, I'm so popular here. But for the calendar, here's this. Everybody knows you just click on it here. We were in Mail and now we're in Calendar. It's just these icons on the upper left-hand side of Outlook. First thing about this is, and what I used to have a tough time with, is if somebody wanted to set up mediation or I'm conferring with opposing counsel or something and I'm trying to get trial dates, things like that, if I'm looking in an email, I was having to look back and forth from the email to the calendar. And it was just very annoying because then I had to remember, oh, what time did they say? Is it at 9 a.m.? Is it at 8:30? Things like that. So I was having to toggle back and forth between the email and the calendar all the time, or I was having to open up the email itself and then having to drag and drop that to, a different side of the screen just to make sure. So that is very annoying. What you can do instead is just right click on that calendar widget and then say open a new window. And so that way you can go, you can split screens. It just makes things a whole lot easier to have your calendar open in a different window. I typically will put it in a different screen of mine. That way I just have it up and it's nice and it's big and I don't have to worry about it. So I would absolutely recommend that you right click to open the calendar widget and that you're opening it in a new window. Now, if you're running Outlook in your browser, so this is our desktop app, right, for Outlook. If you're running it in your browser and you do this, it's going to open a new tab in your browser, and that's where your calendar is going to be. But a little bit of warning there, the output from that is so large because now you have those two tabs running together that it can make your computer run slower and it can make the website slow down. So something to keep in mind if you're doing this via browser. If you just have the app like I do up here, it doesn't affect anything, but the browser, you might see a little bit of a lag if you do that too. So just FYI. Now, the cheat code that I have, we're going to exit out of here. The cheat code that I have when it comes to calendars and what is vastly underutilized is the drag and drop function. So let's say that Lynette, oh, hi. Let's say that Lynette wanted to have a meeting with me and we included a bunch of stuff in this email that was pertinent for the meeting, and I need to make a calendar invite out of it. Instead of going and making an event, right, where you would click through, oh, it opened up on the other screen, hello, where you would click it open and then you'd have to create an event, you'd have to invite attendees, things like that, and you can't remember what it was about. Instead, what you can do is just drag and drop the email up to that calendar icon, so up to the widget, and then it's going to automatically populate things for you. So it'll include the email, it'll include what you need. You can then pick your dates, you can invite whoever you need to invite, but it just makes it so much easier. And it kind of, reflect or refreshes your recollection. Hey, puns for lawyers, but it helps you remember what that meeting was going to be about in the first place. So essentially, if I'm just very, very busy and I'm trying to just get things calendared quickly and just trying to say, okay, I want to make sure that I remember what this is about, drag and drop those emails into the calendar function so that it's just easier for you at the end of the day. Makes a lot more sense to do it that way. So definitely, definitely recommend that. Dun, 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 dun. And then similar, okay, we'll talk about contacts really quick because I feel like this is also underutilized when it comes to Outlook. So there's a few things when you look over here on the Outlook ribbon that you can see, right? There's mail, there's calendar, there's Copilot, right? That's the fancy new AI stuff that we are not going to get into because that would take a whole different CLE. But then also there's people, so that's what contacts used to be. So that's people. There's a to-do function, there's things that you can explore, there's tasks, right, that you can do here, but we're going to look at people. So this is contacts. And not a lot of people use these. I do way more in my firm, obviously not so much in Smokeball. So these are fake people, except for Austin. Hi, Austin. But for instance, if you watch The Boys, Billy Butcher is in my contact list. Look at me go. But so what I would do though, and why contacts can be so powerful, especially when you're at a firm and you're trying to and you're just trying to practice and live your life, is get into the habit of adding people to your contacts, especially when it comes to mediators or court and things like that, because the issue is what happens a lot is, we use probably 10 different mediators in our practice, kind of our go-tos, and sometimes they move around a lot, sometimes they're in different buildings. The problem is typically the attorney is trying to get out the door. It's, 8 a.m. mediation starts at 9, and then you're trying to figure out where you're going. And instead of just being able to look at one single source of truth, you're having to go through your emails, do a search function to find an email between you and the mediator's office to figure out where their address is. It just becomes cumbersome, right? And a little bit onerous. So what you can do instead is add that mediator, add their office into your contacts. And so that way their company, you can actually edit this, and this is all going to be, or copy it, but this is all going to have their information in it. You can add their address. You can add notes here for the notes for Billy Butcher. I said he does not like Homelander, but especially notes with regard to your mediation. Maybe there's a note with regard to what's happening at that particular office. You can put that there too. It just makes things a whole lot easier to look up as opposed to having to find emails and things like that. Just makes perfect sense. And similar to the functionality of dragging and dropping into your calendar, you can do the same thing into your contacts. So if I wanted to drag and drop into the contacts tab, oh, popped up on the other screen, hang on. It's here. And so you'll see it'll already automatically populate some things like the email address. Typically, it'll also do the address too. If it's in the right format, it'll auto-populate there. But you can just drag and drop literally everything here. So if you wanted to highlight a telephone number and then drag and drop it, and let's say put it there, you can just drag and drop everything here. It takes no time to add a contact into here. So it's just so nice to be able to do that. Definitely start doing it. Start doing it with as many contacts as possible. I do every time I get a new opposing counsel or a co-counsel, things like that, they all get added. Also, I always add a picture to each one, which is nice. It just helps me, right? I can remember what they look like. You know, you have that option of doing that and adding a picture. Like for Austin, he has this picture. Billy Butcher, I added in that picture. So definitely do that. And add in a picture just makes things easier for you when you're receiving emails from them and there's a picture associated with it. A word of caution, though, don't assign random pictures to people like opposing counsels that you hate. So let's say maybe I put a Darth Vader contact for an opposing counsel as his picture because that might come back to bite you when you're screenshotting emails to attach to a motion to compel and the court sees that you've assigned this Darth Vader picture to your opposing counsel. So maybe just be careful with what picture you're using, but pictures break up the monotony of Outlook, so I like to do it where I can, quite honestly. And you can also always go and change your own picture. So here you go. Here's my picture. If you go to, if y'all, that was too quick, but if you go to the File tab, and then you go over here, you can change the picture that you have, save it and close it, and you're good to go. So it's just really something nice to do so that when you email other people that have Outlook, they can see that picture too. It just, again, breaks up the monotony that is Outlook. And then other things that I kind of hate, but I'll still address when it comes to Outlook. So for instance, we'll go back up here, but they have tasks, or now called the to-do function, same thing as tasks. And so you can do that. And it's just, I never use tasks because I have practice management software. So this is just an example in here of what you can do where you can assign a new task. So let's say you were opening an email from Austin and I need to do something here. I need to assign this as a task or something like that. You can go ahead and assign that and have it be looked at as a task or a follow-up, things like that. You can do a lot of stuff with it. I just kind of hate it as far as the to-do task, to-do tab or the follow-up one. It's not my favorite thing uh, ever to do. So if you've mastered it, do it. But for me, it's just not. I just never use it. So you can mark it, you can flag it, you can add a reminder and things like that to respond to it later. As far as follow-up is concerned, it's just not my favorite. Because if you use any type of technology or software, it becomes obsolete and it's just not fun. There's also other things in here too that they completely suck at. So notes for Outlook just seems like an afterthought and they should probably just eliminate it because this is what it looks like. It's not good. Here's what it happens when you open it. Yeah, not good, just very blah. There's hardly any functionality to it. So what I would say instead, if you're looking for a notes app to use Microsoft OneNote. So that integrates obviously with your Microsoft products. That's a really, really good one. I use it all the time for note taking. And it just exists in your Microsoft ecosystem. Or Evernote is also very good too. So I know a lot of attorneys use OneNote and Evernote, and those have been really good. But the notes function for Microsoft, do not use it. Find something like Evernote or OneNote. Here I have OneNote, but it just makes things a whole lot easier. Believe me. Do not use the notes tab there. It just absolutely sucks. All right, so going to keyboard shortcuts. Oh, really quick. Oh, I need to speed us up. Okay, so going into keyboard shortcuts. Let's say that I wanted to respond to Austin, or let's say, you know what, let's just open up a random email. Let's see. If I want to respond to this email, I don't even have to click into it. Let's just say I've hovered over it and it's highlighted. If I want to respond to that email, I can just hold down Control and then R for reply, right? Very intuitive. If I hold down Control and R, I can reply to that email so I don't have to click. The goal of Microsoft products in general is to not have to click ever. That's the absolute goal. A lot of times you're stuck on a laptop with a trackpad, and if you're eating fries and trying to scroll on that trackpad, Good luck. So it just becomes harder to click on and becomes harder to navigate, right? Especially when you're on a laptop. So the goal is that you're using your keyboard as much as possible. So Control and R, again, all of these will be in your slides for reference. Try to get used to these as much as possible so that they become muscle memory. But Control R will be your reply. If multiple people were on a text string and you wanted to reply all, Control Shift R is going to be that reply all, right? Very intuitive with that one. If you just wanted a brand new email, similar to Microsoft Word, right? And similar to Excel, that's just going to be Control and then N as in new email. Same with a new calendar event. So if you're going over here and you're clicking on your calendar widget, if you go Control N, that's going to bring up a brand new event. So just for your calendar. So control N's are very nice, very powerful. Just your delete button is going to delete messages. It's my favorite button for emails. Control F, we can all guess, means forward, right? So that's again, control F will forward it to you. And then if you don't want to click back and forth between your calendar and your mail widget, you can also just say control and then the number two, and that's going to take you over to your calendar also. So some really cool stuff there. And then just in general for Microsoft products, things that you absolutely should know by far, hands down, is one is control C, which is copy. So if I wanted to, for some reason, copy this text, control C as in copy. And then if I want to paste that text, control V as in Victor, will paste it down there. So again, control C to copy, control V for pasting. My favorite one though, and if y'all have been with me on this Microsoft journey, and you might know this, my favorite shortcut for all Microsoft products is control Z as in zebra. It is your undo button. So maybe I did not want to do that. I did not want to copy that. I did not want to paste it. Guess what? Hold down control and then Z and it will get rid of that. And you can do it up to, I think, 5 times, 6 times as far as the undo function on that. So, it can go back in time quite a bit. So Control Z, though, will be your best friend. I absolutely promise you. There's other shortcuts that are available in the slides. I won't go through all of them just for in the interest of time, but refer to your slides, definitely. The only other one that I would reference would be, let's see, that's not a very good test. Well, let's see, maybe it'll do it here. No, because that's the thing. So if we do this, so let's say you wanted to highlight an entire sentence. If you hold down control and then click any word in that sentence, it will highlight just that sentence. So for people like me who have shaky hands when you're trying to highlight and then go into a rage stroke because you don't want to highlight the next word in the sentence, hold down control, click on any word in the sentence that you want, and it will just highlight solely that sentence. If you triple click, it'll highlight the entire paragraph for you. So there's that. And then obviously things like control and then holding down A is going to highlight everything in that email. So typically we'll do that control A, control C, paste it into somewhere else, right? Typically. Let's see. And then, oh, you know what? We're going to get back to that if we can. Let me highlight this. So sorry, in the interest of time, I'm trying to go through greatest hits here. The thing that annoys me, maybe the most out of all, discard that, out of all Microsoft products is that they do not autocorrect uppercase text. And so when you are going in, and you are trying to maybe just cite a statute, or maybe you're very angry at opposing counsel and you're trying to say things in all uppercase. The issue is it doesn't spell check it. So if you've misspelled something, you look like a fool. But it's very annoying though. I don't know why the default for Microsoft products is to not spell check that, but let's turn that off. So in order to do that, you'll go into File. So go over to your File ribbon. You'll go to Options, which is down here at the very bottom. Weird that they have that in such a weird location. But click on Options at the very bottom. This will pop up. You'll go to Mail and then go down to Spelling and Autocorrect. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, where did I miss it? Where did it go? Da, 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 da. Oh, here we go. I missed it. It's just up here. So click on spelling and autocorrect. And so you'll see here the default is that this is checked off where it says ignore words in uppercase. Uncheck that. And so that way it will now spell check everything that's in uppercase. Also, as an aside, I have to say this joke every single time because it makes me giggle. But at one point, I was clerking for a judge, and there was a sovereign citizen case, which if you've never had to deal with soft sits, consider yourself very lucky. But at one point, they're always pro se, it's a whole thing. But at one point, they submitted, I guess, what could be construed as a pleading, and they said there are only two types of case law, Judge, upper case law and lower case law. And it makes me giggle every time I think about it. I think that guy is still in jail. Anyway, so keep going here. So that's how you turn that off. And definitely change that though. And also, you can play around with this. You can look in here and you can see what it does for you as far as spell checking. And so maybe there's things that you don't want it to look at. For instance, I don't want it to spell check internet addresses because clearly that's always going to be flagged. So you can just kind of play around with this and see what you like as far as spelling and grammar are concerned. It's really nice. Next, I want to talk about sounds and notifications because these annoy me. Turns out every single time, especially when I was a baby attorney in my first couple of years of practice, every single time the Outlook sound would go off, my heart rate would skyrocket. And that started being not good, especially when I was at home and trying to decompress and, shut my brain off for the day. And then that sound would come on. So I figured out very quickly for my own mental health to disable that sound. And so I would highly suggest that you do that too. In order to do that, go to the File ribbon. We're going to go back to Options in the bottom left-hand corner. We're going to go to Mail again, and then you'll go down to Message Arrival. So typically the default is that this is clicked, the play a sound. Unclick that because you already know what it's coming in. We already monitor our emails way too much. So uncheck play a sound and then say okay. Same thing can happen for Outlook on your phone. You can mute those notifications, right? So you'll still get them and you'll still get notified, but you can mute the sounds for that notification, which I absolutely suggest that you do. All right, so next, talking about rules. Rules are my favorite, especially if you don't have some form of practice management software or file sharing software. And let's say, again, I think I referenced it before, that your client decides to send you 100 different emails with 100 picture attachments for part of their discovery answers instead of just sending everything through a link or through the portal. Really nice. Thank you, client. So when that happens and I'm getting bombarded with hundreds of emails, that I don't necessarily need to review yet, and it's annoying the heck out of me, I actually make a rule with regard to that. So basically, so the rule is essentially any emails that are coming in from that client for that day or however long I say, they're going to be pushed into a different folder. So that way I don't see them in my inbox. They immediately will just go to that folder. And that way at the end of the day, when I'm actually, okay, I can look up these discovery responses, and look through these pictures, I just have to go to the folder. I don't have to hunt all of them down in between all my other client emails. So this will absolutely save your sanity, depending on if you do, especially litigation. So FYI, definitely helps me. Excuse me. All right. So let's say that Austin is sending me an email, and let's say now this is part of 100 emails that he's sending me for discovery responses, and I need to make some sort of a rule with that, right? So let's just say, pretend like, hey, this is an answer to your discovery, yada, yada. So highlight that email. So you'll see here, right, we've clicked on it. And then once you do that, go to, if you're on the home tab, so the home ribbon, go over here where it says the move tab, where you'll see move, you'll see rules. You can also, if it's integrated, you can send it to your OneNote if you have that. So everything's kind of integrated with each other. But go ahead, go to rules, and then you'll go to create rule. And you'll see this pop up. So what I want to do, if this is a client that's sending me too many emails for today and I just need to be able to ignore it for a while, I'm going to click on, I need all the emails that are from Austin, and I want them to be moved to a folder that I select. So I'm probably going to say maybe this is a discovery folder for a case. And so when I click OK, it's going to move everything that I received from him. It's going to move into a different folder. And I can eliminate that rule at any time. I can do whatever I want with it. You can make it very granular too. So maybe I just want to move messages from Austin that contain a specific subject line, or maybe it's sent to me only or to multiple people. So there are certain things that I can do with it. It can play a specific sound also when I get things from him. But again, as I just discussed, I don't like sounds from Outlook. So when you do that though, and you create that rule, it'll start sending any emails Yep, and so it's going to ask me, do you want to apply this to emails now that are already in your folder? The answer is yes. And so it's good for me, especially. So it's going to move. Well, wait, there's so many emails from Austin. I should have done that. So I'm going to exit that. But essentially, it'll move everything into that folder. And then, like I said before, if you didn't want to do that, you accidentally forgot where you need that to end the rule. It won't delete any of your emails, but you can absolutely eliminate the rule. So I'm just going to click on this. And I'm going to say delete this rule. You can also change it. You can do whatever you want. You can create a new rule, delete the rule, tweak the rule, whatever you want. I didn't mean to do this, so I'm going to say yes, delete, because I do not want that rule anymore. And then I'm going to say apply and okay. So that way his emails will be back and they'll be populated back. So just makes it so much easier on you. I would absolutely do rules when it comes to clients that are sending you way too many emails. So it's just nice. And then read receipts. Let me just go off on a little bit of a tangent. If you are a person that sends an email that asks for a read receipt, I do not like you. I get it if there's maybe been an opposing counsel that's terrible about things, and so now it's basically that opposing counsel has spoiled it for everyone, and you ask for a read receipt. Do not do it. I decline it every single time. And then I discovered that you can essentially have Outlook auto decline for you so that it never even pops up. So you never have to click yes or accept when they request it and things like that. You never have to click no. You can just completely disable it, which is lovely. So here's how you do that. You'll go over to the file ribbon. You'll go to options again. You'll go to mail, and then it'll be and then it should be tracking. Let's see where that went. Did I do it wrong? Oh, here, we found it. And then we go over to tracking, and you'll see here, it'll say for any message received that includes a read receipt request. You can say always send a read receipt, which absolutely not. Never send a read receipt, which is what I have selected. And the default when you open this is always ask each time whether to send it. And so I always say just never. So anytime somebody sends me a read receipt now, I never have to click on anything, don't send it, because it automatically in the back end declines it for me. So definitely recommend that if you're getting too many and it's just making you angry, like it was making me angry. So that's what I selected there. And then let's see here. Oh, we already talked about fixing that uppercase spell check, which is lovely. Oh yeah, the undo send feature is a really nice one too. Let's see. We'll look at, yeah, let's do the delayed sending rule because that makes more sense for right now with the time constraints that we have. All right, so the delayed sending rule, for when you have that, oops, I didn't mean to send that, I didn't mean to hit send yet, type of moment that we all have. This was actually suggested by an attorney, Renee Nesbitt. So Renee, if you're watching this from anywhere, hello and thank you for the suggestion. But you can delay the sending of emails for seconds or many minutes. So this is handy to undo a send or fix an attachment or something before maybe it goes to opposing counsel, things like that. So for Outlook Web, if you're using this on the browser, refer to the slides because I just have the app open right now. But for Outlook Desktop, for the one that I have open, in order to do this, you'll go to the File tab and the File ribbon, and then you'll go to Manage Rules. I'm so sorry, my nose is just itching like you would not believe. What is wrong with me? Ugh. Okay, so you'll go to the, wow, hang on, sorry, choking on my own saliva. Give me one sec, I'm gonna mute myself. Hang on. All right, and I'm back. Okay, so hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay, so you go to the File tab, and let's see here, You'll go to File, and then you'll go to Manage Rules and Alerts. And you'll click on this, and it looks very rudimentary and a little bit scary. It's really not, I promise you. So here's what you'll do. You'll go to New Rule, and then look, I know this again is a lot, but don't worry about it because we're going to go through it. So once you hit New Rule, you're going to select Apply Rule on Messages I Send under Start from Blank. So if you go to Apply Rule on Messages I Send, Because remember, this is just about me. I want to delay sending because this has happened to me multiple times where I didn't mean to hit send, and that was my fault. And so I'm going to start from a blank rule, so that's down at the bottom. I'm going to apply it to rules. I'm applying the rule to messages that I send, and then you'll click next. Don't worry about this, step two or anything like that. Just click next. And then this looks again very intimidating. Do not worry about it. So what you're going to do is find down here where it says, it should say defer. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. My eyes can't see this. It's too small. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, yeah. So, oh, yeah, you don't have to click anything here. Sorry, just click next. Oof. And then it'll say the rule will be applied to every message you send. Is this correct? Yes. So don't worry about the prior screen. So on this one, it's going to say, da da da, here we go, defer delivery by a number of minutes. That's what you're going to select. And when it says number of minutes, you'll see that there's a hyperlink there. You can click on it. And so you'll say how many minutes do you want to defer it by. So again, especially if you have the bad habit of saying, oh crap, I didn't mean to send that. Oh no, I sent the wrong attachment, things like that. You maybe want to defer delivery by a solid minute, a solid 2 minutes, things like that. But if you say okay, and you go next, all of that's fine. You don't have to worry about it. And then you'll click just finish at that point. Yep. Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, and then you'll turn on this rule, finish. And then it'll say the rule will only run when you check your email and Outlook. If Outlook isn't running, the rule won't work. So remember, this is only for the desktop version of Outlook. And so now, anytime I send an email out, there's going to be a 1 minute delay. It just makes so much sense, especially if this has been an issue for you before, or maybe you could have been like me and had a little bit of a rage problem, especially in your first few years of practice. And this could have saved you from sending out some bad emails to opposing counsels who did deserve it, but you probably shouldn't have sent it. So definitely add that as a rule. And again, just like the other rules that we saw, you can delete this at any time. So if you don't like it, you don't want it, go ahead, just delete it. Microsoft makes it very easy to add things to take it away, things like that. And it's pretty intuitive. I know that looked overwhelming, but we're only focusing on that one thing, and that's for delayed sending. Also, as far as delayed sending for longer durations, maybe especially if you want to be respectful of others' times, like maybe you're opposing counsel, or maybe you have an employee who you know if you send an email out at 11 p.m. at night that they're going to respond to it. And you don't want that because you're trying to establish healthy boundaries for them and for yourself. So maybe you want to delay sending of an email until work hours, things like that. So what you're going to do in order to do that, which I highly suggest, especially if you have a paralegal like that, because I do not want her looking at emails at 11 p.m. I just don't want it. That's not going, that's, you're just it's leading to burnout city at that point. So let's say I want to send an email to a paralegal, and then I want to delay sending though until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning or something like that. So if you open the email and you go to the options tab here, and you'll see here, it should say, yep, delay delivery up here. And it will ask you, when do you want to delay it to? So maybe I need it to be, let's see. Yep, it'll say, so you can basically customize this and say what you want. So maybe you need it to not be delivered before, it'll be delivered basically at 5 p.m. today is what's currently selected. So there are certain things that you can do. You can save a copy of it too. There's a lot of things that you can do with the delayed sending rules, but definitely look into it, especially again, if you have staff that it's just, they're going to look at it. And, if some of us are working 2 or 3 a.m., I don't want to wake anybody up. I don't want anybody to get a notification. So look into that delayed sending rule. Also, another thing too that we're not using as much as we should, but it's now gotten a lot more sophisticated is the dictation tool. So if you are used to, I mean, I'm aging myself here by talking about a dictaphone. But if you are used to speaking things out into existence instead of having to write it, especially for me, when I'm writing a brief and things like that, dictation sometimes it's easier to get my thoughts down on that. Or maybe if you're just not that good of a typer, check this out. The dictation tool now is so much more sophisticated than it was even 5 years ago. And look at that. So definitely that's just integrated into the Microsoft Outlook app. I would absolutely start using it. You can also do it for Microsoft Word, right? It's just going to make things a whole lot easier for you. So if you haven't played around with this yet, definitely do. You just click dictate and start speaking, and it will automatically start typing it in there. So way better than it was years ago. Oop, and I need to, oh gosh, I'm gonna be quick as I go through some of this stuff as we're rounding. I know, I can't believe it's already been that long. Okay, so next we're gonna talk about multiple time zones, especially if I have to deal with a lot of people on the West Coast, which happens quite a bit for my job, and I'm trying to schedule times and things like that. It helps to have multiple time zones shown at once on my calendar situation. So for instance, when I go to calendar and I go to file, so you'll see, well, first of all, right here, you'll see where it just has one time zone. This is me. I'm in Central. Obviously, y'all are in Eastern. Must be nice. But so, for instance, if I'm looking here right now, everything is displayed in Central. So let's say I want to add West Coast time, again, for all of the California people that I do business with. No problem. So you'll go over to File, you'll go to Options, and then you'll go to Calendar. And then scroll down and you'll see here where it says time zones. And you'll see where it says I can show a second time zone. So yes, I'd like to show West Coast, but you can choose Central, you can choose any time zone that you want. So especially if you're doing a lot of business with foreign countries and you want to see at any given time what it is, in their time zone instead of most of us Googling what time is it right now in Sydney. Instead, you can just add that to the calendar. So you can choose whichever time zone you want, click OK. And then you'll see now it's added it. So now it'll say West Coast here. So when I'm going in and I'm looking at my calendar and I can say, okay, well, I want to schedule a meeting with West Coast. Okay, it's 11 a.m. my time. That's going to be 9 a.m. their time. So I get it. It's simple math in your head, but it just helps. It helps when you don't have to think about it, right? That's one of the few things that you can absolutely outsource to Outlook when it comes to time zones. It just makes things a whole lot easier. Also, things like a Zoom integration, absolutely. If you are taking clients virtually, so I do that a lot, right? A lot of my intakes now are completely virtual. It's just easier, right, for the client. They don't have to take time off work. They don't have to come find me. We don't have to go into an office. So a lot of them are done now via Zoom, and it makes it so much easier when you have a Zoom integration. So, for instance, here's how that looks. How it works is you'll see this little Zoom tab here where you can say add a meeting or settings or things like that. I have it automatically. The default for me is that anytime I add a person to this meeting, it will add a Zoom link. So if you have a Zoom account that you pay for, download the plugin. So type in Zoom Outlook plugin, and that's going to take you to the Outlook page. Download the plugin, takes about 30 seconds. And so that way you can start seeing it appear in Outlook. So it's super easy to just download that and have it be there. So let's just say that this is just a test meeting, but I'm going to invite Austin to it and you'll see what it does when I add him. Da, 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 or what it usually does. Now it's just decided not to. That's fun. All right. So, da, da, da. So I'll add a Zoom meeting there. Oh, I don't know why. Okay, this works. I use this literally every day of my life. I don't know why it's not. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, what did I do? Weird. Okay, strange. Oh, you know why it's not adding it? Because I selected a date that is in the past. All right, well, that explains a lot. So let's go here to Friday. Oh my gosh. All right, invite. Wow. It's just one of those days, y'all. And so I selected this meeting. It automatically added in the Zoom plugin because now I've selected a meeting in the future instead of the past. So it's going to auto-populate that meeting for me with the Zoom link. So just one less thing that you have to worry about or copy and paste from Zoom just makes things a whole lot better. All right. Ooh, blocking a sender is a big one too that I've been doing more and more of, I would say, as time goes on. And so you'll look at, for instance, let's say, da, da, da. Sorry, Austin, to keep using you as a guinea pig, so maybe I won't, but I'm just going to say maybe me. So let's say that this is somebody else and I want to block them because at this point they're just getting annoying. So what you can do is if you look in this upper left-hand corner under the delete Tab, there are certain things that you can do here. So if you hover over it, it'll tell you you can clean up, you can block, you can delete the email, things like that. If you click on block, you can click block sender or block their domain too, which is nice, and go into junk email options. So you can do a lot of stuff here under block email. So definitely if you're getting too many people contacting you that you don't want them, a lot of spam, things like that, go ahead and just block that sender. All right, and before we get into Q&A, I'm going to get back into my slides, so just hang tight really quick. So again, if you have questions, go ahead, pop that into the chat or the Q&A box, and I will get to them in just one second, but let's share these slides back. All right. Oh, and what I should say too, wait, hang on, I totally forgot this. Hang on. Dun, 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 dun. Let me go back here. With block senders, I will, well, no, hang on, we don't have time to go over that. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so for block senders, there's just a lot of stuff that you can do. Also, if you would rather not block them, you can drag and drop and just put that into junk email. So on here, so that'll automatically start routing anything from them into junk email. So it's similar to a block. And also, if you end up, and this is the cool thing about if you have practice management software, things like that, there are certain things that you can do to save these down into your practice management software, right? So I no longer have to ever save down emails manually myself. It automatically saves it into the client file, into the particular client folder. So if I'm talking to Elizabeth for the Smith discovery case, it's automatically going to take that and put that into Elizabeth's folder on our practice management software. So there's just a lot of cool Microsoft integrations that you can do when it comes to practice management software. It's pretty fun. All right, so let me get back into our slides here. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, now I promise if you have questions, go ahead and put those into Q&A or put those into the chat. But just wanted to say thank you so much. I know that was a metric ton of information to give you with regard to Outlook, and there's still a lot more that we can go over. So probably in Q&A we will. But thank you very much for attending. Thank you to Smokeball for putting this on too. I can't believe that I get to do this just as my job, which is kind of crazy. That I just get to go and talk to attorneys in Florida, for instance, about Microsoft Outlook because I used to hate it and now I very much have embraced it. And I like to share my wisdom that I have learned, from my many trials and tribulations when it came to Outlook. But truly, if you're looking for practice management software, if you're looking to never have to save down an email ever again yourself and click 5 million things in order to save it down, this will absolutely save your life. So just as a CYA for my firm and myself, this is already kind of paid for itself, I would say. But if you have any questions about it, you want to learn more about practice management software, we're going to launch a poll here where if you select yes, we'll set up a demo with you. And essentially, a demo is just a live demonstration of the software. So think about it this way. For instance, maybe I can launch it. Where did it go? There it is. And it's would you like to learn more about how Smokeball can work for your firm? But essentially, what I always suggest for any type of legal technology software that you get is if it doesn't make you more money or it doesn't give you more free time back in your day, you do not need it. So just think about it with that regard. When you do a live demo, they'll take you through the product. It's typically just a half hour over Zoom, and they'll take you through the product. You can ask questions in real time about your own specific jurisdiction, your own specific area of law. And so it'll just take you through all of those, any questions that you could possibly have, and take you through the functionality of the system. But absolutely changed the game for me. I did not know that practice management software existed when I started my firm, or even at my old firm. We had 40 attorneys across the state. We didn't have practice management software, and now, of course, they do. But would have been nice for the first 5 years of practice because none of our technology talked to itself. We didn't have a single source of truth for anything, and hardly any of them integrated with each other. So it was extremely annoying and taxing. But you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know what practice management software was until I opened my own firm. And I thought, oh, this is lovely. All right, so now and of course, again, you get 10% off of our products. We'll post that link in the chat. And your CLE information as we round this out before I get into Q&A. Your course number for today is 9439. Qualifies for an hour of general credit and an hour of technology credit. Very fun. So again, your course number is 9439. So let me see if we have any questions here. Dun 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 dun. Oop, didn't mean to scroll. Sorry, guys. Let's see. I think we're good. But if there are questions that you were maybe too shy to ask, go ahead and just shoot me an email. I'm here. I talk about this all the time. Dumb question amnesty because Microsoft is insane anyway on a good day. So go ahead and shoot me an email. I'm jordan.turk@smokeball.com. Or if you scan this very fancy QR code that's going to take you to my LinkedIn, feel free to message me on LinkedIn. I'm here to be a resource for y'all. But again, you'll get a copy of the slides, so definitely reference it. But I hope that you got a little something out of this and hopefully you feel a little bit more comfortable with Outlook. But thank y'all very much and hope to see you again.